Let's get Michael Alisa's opinion on our Twitter question today of the most underrated game on BYU's 2015 schedule. Michael, how's it going, brother?
Doing great. Sorry if I sound like I just woke up recently.
Because you did?
I did. So, yeah. I'm out in California. We're an hour behind you guys. So
take it easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry to visit my grandma.
Yeah, take it easy.
No problem, Bob. Tell Granny I said hi.
All right, so wipe your eyes a little bit. Do you know where is grandma? What's the most underrated game on BYU's 2015 schedule, Michael?
I'd say UCLA, and the reason why I would say them is because, one, we're watching that on Fox Sports, so a little more wider, more televised. And then the second part is they're part of the Pac-12. And BYU, we love our biggest measuring sticks, aside from our own schedule, is what's up with the University of Utah, right, our friends up north. So we want to see how they do against the Pac-12 teams. We want to see how they do against UCLA, and then we want to see how we do against them ourselves. So I think I'd say UCLA has a lot more going into that game than we give it credit for.
Now, I feel like UCLA is very rated, if you will. Like, to me, that's the biggest game on the schedule. We've been talking about it. So you still think it's underrated, despite that fact. Why is that?
Right. Because, yes, it's UCLA. They're a good team. But with everything else that's going into it, the fact that we can look at them and if we beat them, then it means that we're playing up to a Pac-12 level, then we can compete with Utah. We'll see how Utah does against them, and hopefully we beat UCLA and Utah does not, right? As a BYU fan, you pray for that. But I think that with that opportunity to compete against our rivals, our crosstown rivals, that's why it's the most underrated team, and we don't talk about that enough.
So it's a measuring stick against Utah, ultimately.
Right.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Well, and I think Mike, to your point, because there's a few different angles that you can take, right? You can say underrated as far as, what are we looking to the most, right? Or what should we be looking to the most, right?
What matters?
Like what matters, how exciting is it? And then I think Mike's approach is, the importance of it, right? So us, I think as analysts and some fans are like, oh yes, this is exciting, it's good. But as far as coming away with a win, like Mike is saying, what is it going to do for the program? And I agree with you there, Mike. And there's some other games, and me and Jerem are taking the opposite approach of, what games on this schedule are fans maybe overlooking, not really excited for whatever. Not talking about for whatever reason. Jerem chose Mizzou, because towards the end of the season. I chose Boise just because you have UCLA and all the other games in the September schedule. What other game on this schedule do you think is underrated?
Okay, so in that case, I would pick Cincinnati. And I think Cincinnati is one of those teams that has a big name while still not being necessarily one of those really dangerous opponents in our minds, right? Mm-hmm. But on the field, I think they're a very dangerous opponent. I think that they're going to play really well. It's going to be at home, and if we're not up for that game, I really don't want to get embarrassed on our home field by Cincinnati. So I think that, in my mind, is the most underrated team.
Yeah, the last 4 years, they've done 10 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins, 9 wins. So pretty good stuff, and they bring in probably the best quarterback BYU is going to face this year in Gunnar Kiel. Okay, so take us into the approach of a former player. You played last year. At this point last year, you were getting ready for your fourth senior season or whatever. How do you prepare yourself differently for a tougher schedule, or do you?
You do, and so I like to use the analogy of I don't know, I heard this once. When you're docking up a ship, you don't want your ropes to be too tight. You also don't want them to be too loose. Too tight, they snap. Too loose, and they're going to wiggle themselves free, and the boat will drift away. So you got to have the right mindset, because there's a lot of pressure going into the season. You want to make sure that you're loose and that you're comfortable, but also that you're pushing yourself. Going to any season, you put in a lot of time. I think going into a tough season, you're putting in quality time. And then not just quality time, but you're putting in extra time. So, they say practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And going into a tough season, you want to make sure that you are just, really particular about what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're doing in your workouts. And everybody pushes each other to another level because everybody knows what's about to happen because it's about to get very difficult very fast. You want to make sure that the guy next to you is as prepared as possible.
Mike, you bring up some interesting points, and I'm happy that you're honest there. I want to know if you were like me as a player. I could say this because I'm more years removed than you are, so I understand if you want to give a political answer. But I remember playing big schools, big games, and for that week, man, I put in so much extra effort and time, like what you said, quality time, right? So additional film study. I may or may not have attended class that week to put some extra time in to watch film. But when I played against Wyoming and Colorado State and New Mexico, I didn't put the extra time in because of the lack of quality, right? I knew, oh man, I can go out there and just run all over these bums. Did you ever do that? Did you ever do that as a player?
No doubt. So, going against Middle Tennessee State is a whole lot different than going against, the University of Utah. So if we're going to play against the guys up north, everyone's going to be in the film room. Everyone's watching film. You might skip class to go watch film.
Right.
You're spending extra time in the training room to make sure your body's 100%. Mm-hmm. But, if we're going against some team that, you might not take it seriously, this schedule, no offense against Wagner, but you're not going to fill the training room or the team or the video room after practice with players just because players probably aren't going to take them as seriously as they will UCLA, Michigan, Nebraska, the bigger name teams, the teams that they know they have to spend more time for.
What?
So, yeah, no doubt, Brian.
So with that being said, and that's why with me as a former player, I have a lot of confidence in this team, even though there's some positions that don't have a lot of reps, they don't really have a lot of experience, they're younger. The fact that the schedule is tougher gives me more confidence that these guys will practice harder. They will put in, the quality time that they need to.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it.
Hashtag analysis. Michael, when you look at a schedule and certain games pop, what makes a game pop as a player when you look at the schedule and go, okay, I'm more excited for these games?
I never really looked at players on the team. I would look at just the names. And for me personally, a few things went into it. It was the name of the team. So if I was like a fan of them before, a great example is Oklahoma. When we played Oklahoma a few years ago down in Texas, I was on my mission, but I just remember saying to myself, like, holy cow, I wish I was in that game because I grew up, an Adrian Peterson fan, and I loved watching the Sooners play. So that would have been just like the biggest treat for me to be able to play against the Oklahoma Sooners because I grew up a fan. So I think it's the name of the team and then the location. One of my favorite teams all time or games was TCU in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. That game to me will always pop out in my memory, and leading up to that, it was so exciting knowing that I was going to go play in the NFL stadium and the Dallas Cowboys, no less.
For me, it was any game that was on TV, regardless of what it was. Just to know that I had family and friends.
It's
watching.
Different now because every game's on TV.
Yeah.
And here's a question for you, Mike. So you play Texas on Fox Sports 1. Does that play into your psyche, your mental aspect at all of ESPN versus anybody else? Does that even matter?
It would, but the fact that it was Texas in Austin and you just, in front of their home stadium, that overrode the television contract that had us aired that day.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. ESPN, it's like everybody's watching you compared to other networks. It's like, you may get a little bit of that. Mike, we've asked this question the last few weeks heading into fall camp about some of the players that didn't have the experience last year, got some decent game reps, but the players that are needing to make an impact. What players that didn't have a lot of that experience do you think will be able to make an impact this year?
Let's see. I'd say I have a player from offense and a player from defense that come to mind immediately. From offense is Nick Kurtz. I think he had a lot of promotion coming into BYU, a lot of talk. Everyone wanted to see what he could do. Long, tall receiver, kind of like a Mitch Matthews prototype. But he got injured and wasn't able to play last year. And what we saw about Nick last year was that he wanted to do everything possible to save the team. I remember the day he got hurt, and this might be a little personal, but the day he got hurt, most guys, you find out you're injured and you're ticked or you're mad and you don't want to talk to anybody. But I remember seeing Nick, like, tears rolling down his face because he wanted so bad to be part of the team to contribute. And so we're all over there consoling him because we've all been through those injuries that end your season. So Nick Kurtz wants to play. He's hungry. He's built like Mitch, runs like Mitch, and this is his time to break out. I think he's going to do great on offense for us. And then on defense, Sai Tautu, he's one of those guys that knew everything. He did everything right on defense, but because of seniors, me and Alani Sula, and then Fred Warner coming in young, Sai didn't get the amount of playing time that he should have. But out of all the linebackers last year, the one that graded out the best, Brian, you know about this. You know about how Coach Howard grades us out after every game. Percentages, right? Yep. Sai scored about 95% to 98% every game.
Wow.
Meaning he was pretty much perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, so Sai knows his stuff. And if you see him, he looks like an NFL linebacker already.
Oh, yeah.
I think Sai's going to do great this year.
Sai Tautu and Nick Kurtz. I like those picks. BYU Fall Camp starting not this week, but next week. Next week! Michael Alisa.
Imagine that. Cannot wait.
Okay, Michael Alisa in California visiting. Oh, what's up, brother?
I was going to say something. So football starts in next week. These next few days are just so important because, guys, if you don't have it, like, all the wrinkles out right now, going into that first game, Nebraska, that's when it's going to happen. So if you don't wrinkle it out now, it's going to get figured out in the game, which really decreases our odds of winning that game. And then you don't want the snowball effect to start. You lose against Nebraska, and then it'll continue on from there. But these next few days are so critical. The 2 weeks leading up to the schedule, the season starting, those are when you want to work out your kinks and work out your problems, because otherwise it's going to happen during the games.
Absolutely. Get the iron out. Michael Alisa visiting Grandma in California. We appreciate the time, brother.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Much love.